These words were powerful, phrased gently but striking right at the heart, catching Lan Qiren off guard as if he had swallowed a huge toad silently. He was swelling with anger, ready to retort, but was interrupted again. "Uncle, I have a question." Lan Qiren, displeased, said. "Speak." Lan Wangji said. Ying comes from the Yunmengjiang clan, whose family ethos is free-spirited and natural, different from the Lan clan. I wonder, would it be unfair to force him to act according to the Lan clan's ways? The family rules also state not to praise oneself and belittle others. Is it appropriate to judge the principles of the Lan and Zhang families as superior or inferior? If we consider the Lan clan's principles to be supremely high and regard other families as inferior, isn't that arrogant and conceited? If the two cannot be compared, then why must Ying, a person of both families, choose to respect one and demean the other? Since Wei Wuxian entered the Lan family, it was as if Sun Wukong had been put under the tight band. His every word and action were constrained. His original free-spirited and adventurous nature was suppressed by the Lan family rules, making him so distressed from copying the family rules that he rolled on the ground. Lan Wangji would always accompany him, enduring the punishment together. He watched the scene with helplessness and pity, thinking that after some time, Wei Wuxian would naturally adapt, not necessarily becoming strict and obedient, but at least cultivating his character. He hoped Wei Wuxian wouldn't act impulsively, offending teachers, fellow students, night patrollers, and passers-by across different places. As long as there were no major infractions, Lan Wangji, as the enforcer, could turn a blind eye to minor ones. It was only when Wei Wuxian completely broke off, firmly declaring divorce, that Lan Wangji's illusion was shattered, revealing the stark reality underneath. Wei Wuxian did not adhere to the Lan family rules, not for any other reason, but because he fundamentally did not agree with those 3,000 or so family regulations. To Lan Wangji, they were like the heaven, as natural and essential as breathing air. However, in Wei Wuxian's eyes, they were nothing worth mentioning. The principles he valued in family laws, personal conduct, and marital relations were different, forming an entirely unique and beautiful scenery. That scenery thrived in the breezy lake winds and the fragrant lotus fields of Lotus Pier, blowing free and unrestrained, unlike the secluded and tranquil mists of Gusu where Lan Wangji resided. Just as Lan Wangji wouldn't abandon the 16 years of education and apprenticeship for Wei Wuxian, similarly, Wei Wuxian wouldn't forsake his own principles and values due to his love for Lan Wangji. Wei Wuxian's spirit cherished the daring, doing what is deemed impossible, his vast-heartedness, and his unrestrained, vigorous, and undisciplined nature. If either of them were to sacrifice their own beliefs to fulfill the other's, neither would find true happiness. How could they coexist in Yun Shen? At the moment of Wei Wuxian's break with him, Lan Wangji reflected deeply in pain, pondering for a long time, and finally felt the need to express his thoughts. Although his words were questioning the rules, they did not violate his identity as a member of the Lan clan, nor did they offend the clan's doctrines and elders. Instead, he approached it by reasoning and questioning based on the family rules. Thus, even though the clan elders were shocked by his statements, they were not enraged. However, not offending does not equate to approval. After all, within the Lan clan, the family rules are supreme. Now Wei Ying sought to poke a hole in that supremacy, allowing a ray of freedom to shine through just for him, something entirely unprecedented in the history of the Lan clan. Therefore, the clan elders were momentarily at a loss, unable to provide an answer. It is difficult to blame them, as historically, those marrying into the Lan clan were women who were bound by the traditional virtues of obedience and propriety. Women, by their nature, are typically gentle and rarely challenge authority. However, Wei Ying, being a man, entered the Lan clan, whose nature greatly differed from the Lan's. His arrival created a clash akin to water and fire, resulting in unprecedented chaos and upheaval. Amidst the silence, Lan Wangji continued, I am not questioning the family rules, but I boldly request the esteemed elders to make an exception for Wei Ying. If it is not a matter of major principles, could he be excused from adhering strictly to all the family rules? I genuinely do not wish for him to act against his heart, nor do I want him to become someone he is not because of it. If it truly cannot be done, I am willing to accept the punishment on his behalf. As these final words were spoken, the room fell into a silent contemplation, unable to utter a response. For the sake of Wei Ying, Lan Wangji was willing to go to such lengths. Some, murmuring with skepticism and surprise, voiced their doubts. How can this be allowed? Within the Lan clan, how can Wei Ying alone be exempt from the rules? One person beside them sighed, wearily saying, "Look at Wangji. Does he seem like someone who can let go of that kid from the Jiang family? This matter is at an impasse for now. Perhaps it's best to set it aside and deal with it gradually." Glancing at Lan Wangji, who was kneeling resolutely, the person seemed to struggle finding the right words. This child used to be the most disciplined, self-restrained, and righteous of all, never hesitating to administer punishment. Now, for the sake of Wei Ying, he defies elders, questions family rules, breaking and establishing anew. From now on, the Lan clan probably won't have any peaceful days. Another person beside them commented, "The trials of love are difficult to overcome." He truly takes after the clan leader. With these words spoken, several people glanced with complex expressions at the cold and stern-faced person seated at the head. Let's not talk about it. Amid the array of sighs, indifferent or ambivalent looks around, only Lan Qiren couldn't help but show a look of sympathy. It was the first time in his life that he saw his younger brother softened by love and emboldened by love. Lan Qiren's face was both distressed and furious, his beard bristling uncontrollably. After a long pause, he squeezed out a sentence, "Haven't you taken enough punishment on his behalf already?" The originally designated punisher had become a regular figure, kneeling in the ancestral hall for reprimands. "Fine," Lan Qiren pointed at him angrily. "This is your own request. From now on, if he makes mistakes, you will take the punishment for him." After a while, with a bitter tone, he added, "Do you think that Wei Ying appreciates your sacrifice? If he has even a bit of affection for you, could he bear to watch you suffer needlessly? I'd like to see what your unwavering devotion will bring you back." Lan Wangji stood in a daze, pondering for a moment before lowering his gaze, returning to a calm demeanor. Witnessing Lan Wangji's willing and unyielding attitude, Lan Qiren snorted coldly. "You truly are deeply devoted, with no expectations of return, aren't you?" However, after saying this, he seemed to have finally exhausted his anger. That pointed goatee, too, seemed to have lost its last bit of vitality and drooped lifelessly. Like an old farmer abandoned resolutely by his prized cabbage, Lan Qiren, his heart fermenting with jealousy, couldn't help but sigh. Children grow up and can't be retained. Attempting to keep them only breeds resentment. Now it truly did turn into a grudge against him. Pitying himself for being unmarried and childless, he found himself inexplicably becoming a wicked mother-in-law. Yet, the Lan clan, the sky upheld by ancestral teachings for so many years, how has it shattered so completely in his hands? How did such a person like Wei Ying even come into existence in this world? After enduring years of toil and hardship, he managed to cultivate merely 2 cabbages in his life. Now, one of them has been stolen so easily. Lan Qiren's heart ignited with anger only to burn out, leaving behind ashes that caught a glimmer of spark when blown by the wind. Suddenly, his eyes brightened slightly as he looked at the remaining cabbage. He stroked his long beard, thinking of consoling his wounded soul. Just as he was about to do so, he saw Lan Qiren looking at Lan Wangji with a tender light in his eyes, inexplicably revealing a joyful expression, causing Lan Qiren to be dumbfounded. After waiting for a long time, Lan Qiren neither agreed nor disagreed. Lan Wangji, uncertain of what to make of this silence, looked towards Lan Qiren for help. Lan Qiren smiled faintly and nodded at him. Lan Wangji exhaled lightly, then immediately looked up and said, "I have one more request to make." Lan Qiren was taken aback, initially feeling dispirited and lifeless, but instantly his anger revived him. "One way Ying keeps you endlessly busy." Lan Wangji seemed momentarily stunned, then he bowed deeply. "I have a request." Lan Qiren glanced at him. "Speak up quickly." Lan Wangji knelt up, hesitated for a moment, and then took a deep breath and said, "Wei Ying says the elders don't like him. I knows that he is not the ideal choice in the elders' eyes, but he is very good. I ask the elders not to be too harsh on him. Otherwise, he won't be happy living in the Lan family."